said, Annie, I mean, you haven't invited me ever. This is the right time. I'm definitely coming. So I just cancelled all my appointments and here I am. And it's a pleasure to be here at ANEICON, ladies and gentlemen. Let's have a big round of applause for Annie, an organization that is committed to taking nursing leadership to level next in India. I think India deserves a nursing institution of this caliber. I think the country needs to progress under smart, erudite nursing leaders like yourselves. And I do believe that that's exactly what Annie is all set to do, and ANEICON is a splendid example of exactly that. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the hour which is called the debate, the big debate. Are you all ready for fun? Can you get your friends from outside? Each one go out, run and get one friend who's listening. You don't want them to miss out on the fun, you ladies and the gentlemen. Let's get everybody back. Am I hearing the vibe? Are we ready for the debate? This hall is still not hearing you. Are we ready for the debate? Let's go! Can you have the first line of my presentation? Awesome. Special thanks to the one who said he got so many. A good friend of mine, Alfred, all nurses are excellent friends with doctors. And once again with that, let's talk about what we're going to talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to moderate the debate. To my right, I have a gentleman who are going to be debating for the proposition that there is a trust deficit in healthcare today. This is nothing to do with nurses, this is nothing to do with doctors, administrators, patients, nothing. We're just talking about a trust deficit. So let's not get to nursing versus medical versus pharmacy versus etc. Okay? And on my left I have two beautiful ladies who have had the pleasure of chatting over lunch. Okay? They are going to be saying there is no trust deficit in healthcare. What are we talking about? Okay? This is my first time as a moderator. Invariably I have either been here or here. And invariably my friend Dr. Anil, my teacher at NABS, has always been against me. Okay? So this is going to be a little dicey for me, a little difficult for you, but ladies and gentlemen, let's understand what we are talking about. Fundamentally, we are talking about something called trust. Trust is a very, very difficult thing to explain. Trust is like love. It's like a CSSD department that people ask for double sterilization, but basically either trust is there, either the thing is sterile, either you love somebody, or you don't. The moment you start getting into, yes, I trust a little bit, but I'm not fully ready, I think there is a problem. So first of all, we are going to discuss whether there is going to be a trust deficit. And let's understand for each one of us, this is not an academic debate. It is a personal debate. This takes us deeper and deeper into how we feel about the patients we see when we go to work. Doesn't matter whether you're a doctor, a nurse, an administrator. It has to be personal. This is about personal reflecting and saying, is there a trust deficit? What do I do to improve it? Many times, remember today, patients come armed to Google, but no gratitude. Many times, nurses are expected to give their everything to work, but they're rarely giving a voice. Many times, doctors have to work at tightrope between care and compliance. With all of this, establishing trust itself becomes really problematic. Okay? Let's take the next point. Can you have the next slide? So the next thing, ladies and gentlemen, is called perception. Everything is about perception in this industry. It's also about perception within the family. I believe somebody is like this. This is my perception. Therefore, I will behave with you like the way I perceive you to be. Perception is also what is created in the press. Perception is what is created by word of mouth. Perception shapes things in our mind faster than anything else. There was this lovely ad yesterday I saw on the internet where somebody is buying a balloon for her younger brother. The lady next door believes she is buying a contraceptive device. And within 30 seconds, the whole society knows that this girl is pregnant in the 7th month and Hannah has an MPV. So perception can really shape what is and what is not. Can we have the next slide of the sisters or I think the most important thing to discuss today is fragility. The fragility of the perceptions created about healthcare specifically are very, very important. The fragility of the trust that we are able to establish is broken in a split second. That is, creating it is going to take years and years and years and decades. One wrong newspaper item about a hospital and the rest of going to the hospital. So fragile impressions that are created in people's minds are very, very important. I think the next slide will talk about reckoning. This debate today is not about what blame people lay at each other's doorsteps. It is about bold honesty. My friends on my right and my left are not adversaries here today. They will be presenting their perspective of the two sides of the coin that we all are related to take. While we like to side with one side, we also acknowledge that there is a bit of the other side. The question that arises is whether that trust deficit is manifested deep enough and big enough to be able to actually harm the profession. As nursing leaders, when you gather here today, as medical leaders, when we gather at other conferences, and when we all work together at conferences of organizations like AHPI or CAPO or the National Board and so on and so forth, it is given to us to explain to the public that we stand right as we are. It's not just enough on the 8th of April 2020 to take a spoon and a thali and bajao danka in the streets. I think doctors and nurses need to be respected more than that. I think doctors and nurses require much more than that, whether it's the financial part or whether it's the respect to the patient that needs to be set up. And with that, I come to the last slide and I'd like to hand over to the debaters. Speaking first will be Dr. Kulpur. He is speaking for the proposition and he is giving 10 minutes. Subsequently, we'll have somebody from this side speaking against 10 minutes and so on and so forth. Ladies and gentlemen, remember, make notes because we will be having a voice vote at the end of this. And depending on your voice box formula, the voice of the nurses, is when we will decide which side is the winning side and whether there is a trust deficit or not. With that, a big round of applause to Dr. ANEICON, Senior Cardiovascular Thoracic Surgeon and an excellent friend of mine.
Sairam. Is the healthcare sector facing trust deficit? Yes or no? Obviously it is yes. It is facing a pervasive and accelerating decline in public trust. There is nothing to debate. Without being personal, as Parag said, if anyone is trying to argue that healthcare is trusted or trustworthy, please rush them to nearest psychiatric service with long-term inpatient facilities. We have made arrangements in ANEICON 2025. You can contact Simple IGAGBG near by G counter. For your information, Simple is also a nurse leader's name. I heard that and I learned only recently. Simple's father was teaching English grammar. He had 3 daughters, simple, complex, compound. As you all know, according to World Health Organization, health is a fundamental right. Therefore, health and education should be actually free of cost. 1947, NHS started. United Kingdom versus India. 2025, 97% of UK population has free healthcare in the form of NHS. Look at us. We have absolutely and comfortably screwed it up. In government sector, none of us want to go to any government hospital. Why? There is a poor accountability, poor quality, poor standards, lack of basic infrastructure, non-approachability of top management, and political interference. No one knows entire ward is on ticagrelor, meropenem, and God only knows what not. What are the key contributors to trust deficit in healthcare sector in general, non-government? The single most reason, financial opacity or lack of transparency in billing, patient safety concerns, ethical breaches, systemic iniquities, communication failures, and data privacy issues. Healthcare today is business. We have hospitals. Some of the hospitals you are working for, they have gone for public issue. There is a share. There is earning per share. Previous generation of doctors and nurses, they have never been forced to understand what is EBITDA, return on investment, venture capitalism. And all of you know, some of your own hospitals have been taken over by international chains. Why? They have invested to make money. We all have vision and mission statement. You say world-class healthcare at affordable cost. But what is the real vision? Myopic. What is the mission? Make money. The good news is, of course, healthcare sector is not alone, which is facing public distrust. None of you want to send your children to government schools. None of us want to go to State Bank of India because their lunch break starts at 11 and ends at 3. News channels, you can pay money to broadcast whatever you want, pay more money, you can stop whatever is being broadcasted. Judiciary, including Supreme Court, police, universities, medical colleges, nursing colleges, all of these have lost public trust. For politicians, of course, there is no problem because to begin with, there is no trust. So there cannot be any distrust or losing trust. Harris poll says in 1966, 73% of population had trust in the healthcare sector. In 2024, it is 20%. Johns Hopkins, one of my co-debaters, has got a tie-up with Johns Hopkins. 2020, 71% of them have trust. Today, 40% of them have got trust. Of course, post-Trump, it is going to fall to zero very soon. The trust deficit academically can be mistrust, distrust. Mistrust is passive. It's a general unease. You want to go to hospital, everything you want to see with suspicion. Distrust is more active. The very motives of the treatment that is being suggested to you, you want to take second opinion, third opinion, 24th opinion, 27th opinion, because you just can't believe anyone these days. As I said, the leading cause why public don't have any trust in healthcare sector, billing. Officially, when Modi government said a stent cannot be charged for more than 30,000 rupees, for a few hours there was unease. After that, business as usual. They have used one word called handling charges, and the stents are costing more than pre-Modi's era. Deductibles, co-pays, co-insurance, out-of-pocket expenditure, all of these act publicly known unholy nexus between hospitals and insurance providers. There is a huge gap between what patients and families expect at the time of financial counseling and when they are actually given the final bill. New heart attacks, repeat heart attacks, off patients and off attenders are common in billing section once they see the final bill. How many of you can understand the small print of health insurance terminology? There is a survey and it is found that 10 to 17% can understand what on earth your health insurance covers and what is it doesn't cover. 400,000 face preventable harm in USA hospitals alone. 200,000 deaths are because of preventable medical errors. It is grossly underreported in the USA and Europe. Mera Bharat Mahan, we never reported, so we don't have any statistics. So what are the results of this loss of trust in healthcare? Emotional stress and distress. Whenever any one of your own blood relatives are admitted in the hospital, you will see that you have anger, depression, anxiety, powerlessness, hopelessness in the very system where you are serving every day. This book, I want all of you to purchase and read. Because when you say healthcare sector distrust, pharmacy is part and parcel of us every day. There is no medical care without the pharmacy. It is called bottle of lies. Small print says it is vaccine, the dark side of Indian pharma, nothing to be ashamed about, because though it says the book covers quite a few USA and European Union practices, pharmacy is extremely dangerous, are not trustworthy. Once upon a time there was official statement, 20% of medicines which are there in the Indian market are spurious. Official statement. We have vaccine hesitancy. Today, as we are all comfortably sitting here, people are dying in the USA because of measles, which is a preventable disease. Why? There is a vaccine hesitancy. Why? Overall health care, no one wants to trust. COVID-19 we have seen, including Djokovic. He was sent off from Australia after landing there because he said, I don't want to take a vaccine. Why? I don't trust health sector. Data privacy, all of us have got EHS and whatnot. 133 million breaches of healthcare sector data was there in 1 year 2023. Again, underreported. Whatever is reported, 156% increase from previous year. Now, the one which is in bold letters you have to understand, 374000. That's not my Aadhaar card number. Healthcare sector breaches occur every single day. And when you want to come out of that, I quote one example always. For one out-of-court settlement of data breach, one US hospital had to pay $34 million US. So in summary, healthcare sector is facing an ever increase in public distrust. It is nothing new. It has been there for decades. It will only get worse. More and more criminal negligence suits will be filed, will be forced to practice defensive medicine, which our colleagues are already doing. Healthcare costs are going to spiral up. Government is not bothered at all. Involving stakeholders in hospitals, scope of services is there on page 1 of NFH. No one cares about that. Transparency of billing, distant dream. False certifications, faulty accreditation assessments are on the rise. Trust deficit in healthcare sector is very much there. It is a stage 4 cancer. For stage 4 cancer, we don't have curative treatment. Therefore, it is hopeless, beyond repair. At the most, we can have palliative treatment only. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Dr. Muthu, for a wonderful presentation. I mean, more of your are ladies, and I think everyone at the back. Okay, now we move over to my colleagues who are going to speak against this, the people who have very youthful optimism and hope that there is still trust within the health sector. Over to you, Vijayalakshmi. Please.
Hello, my name is Stevie. I have two colleagues in my headquarters. One of them is called Mike and one of them is called Craig. So whenever we say mic testing, we also say Craig testing. Thank you so much. It's amazing to be here and to speak on such an important and vital topic. I and she came all the way to the town where the doctor who was treating him was practicing. She brought a little gift for the doctor, and she asked me, "Amma, will you please come with me?" And I saw the physician, the treating physician, and the wife. They cried, they were sobbing together at their loss. To me, both these stories exemplify trust. The trust that a patient and a patient's family has in the healthcare team that is taking care of them, the physician, the nurse, everyone who is involved in ensuring that the patient gets the treatment he or she deserves. I cannot, in fact, sir, you know, I took pictures of your slides. Let me see how technically proficient I am in bringing those slides back. You know, in spite of everything that you said, there is still trust. In the system, there is still trust. Yes, there are data privacy issues, financial opacity, I call it financial toxicity. There is no money, people have nothing. They have nothing to fight disease. The only thing they have is faith and trust. You see, faith and trust is the hallmark of a partnership. Today, a physician and a patient are partners. It is not that the patient will say, "Oh no, this is the doctor, he's God, he's my mom." No, that those days are gone. Today, the patient is aware of his or her rights, and the physician is also aware of his or her rights, and will move mountains to ensure, because today's physicians are today's physicians, and that makes a big difference. They know that the patients have access to any kind of knowledge, and believe me, there is no patient today who doesn't have this in their hands. So this is empowerment, and I think physicians have recognized it. Then we're talking about safety concerns, ethical breaches, systemic inequities, and you spoke about there's nothing, there are no proper hospitals, there is no way a patient can go in comfort to be at the treating institution, ethical breaches we spoke about, and then we spoke about how healthcare is a business, which is very true. It really is true. In fact, if I don't trust anybody, it is the insurance segment that I don't trust. And I don't mind saying it out loud, right? But when it comes to the healthcare team, trust and faith, believe me, that is the foundation, that is the hallmark, that is everything. My teammate, Richie, she's also Richie, I wasn't. My teammate said, share some stories. And at that time I wondered, I didn't have any story in mind. But then, listening to our opponent, I was like, you know what? I can share some stories with you all. So, I think today what is really important is that we have to understand, again, I'm repeating myself, it's a partnership. And there is no partnership without trust and faith. There is no partnership without trust and faith. And that is what we have lots and lots and lots of. Thank you so much.
I had promised Tangam ma'am that I will try and share 10 minutes of this debate. Excellent points made by both our opening batsmen. I don't like the word batsman, I try not to be misogynistic, but whatever it is, batspeople or batspersons. Over to you for, you have 10 minutes, sir.
Allow me a few seconds, please. Am I audible? So Dr. Barak's at number 3. So I bat at number 3. And the most trustworthy batsman India have ever had at number 3 was Rahul Dravid. And the topic is trust. Now, we had a few numbers coming up, statistics coming up. We heard a couple of stories. But let me tell you one thing. When I was invited to this debate, I just scratched my chin and asked myself, why the hell should somebody invite me for such a thing? Because I have got nothing to do with the medical profession, right? But when the topic was given, I thought I'm going to bounce out of this opportunity because I'm never ever going to get such an opportunity again. I don't care if it's a debate or not. I'm here to open myself up and share my feelings with you people. So take me as a friend. Seeing some of the pretty faces, I don't feel like saying take me as a brother, but take me as a friend and please listen to the point. This comes straight from the heart. Now, have you seen God? Yes or no? We live in a country where God is very abstract, right? We live in a country where a lot of naive people say, yeah, I've seen God, he used to bat at number 4 for India in Test cricket. I'm not talking about Sachin Tendulkar, I've seen God. There was this pain all of a sudden somewhere radiating from my back to my hips and going down where it shouldn't go, threatening the existence of a future generation. And that pain was so unbearable. The worst pain I ever experienced. Somebody came up to me, shook hands and said, congratulations, you have the pain that gets closest to a labor pain, which is a kidney stone. I actually saw God in somebody who actually treated that kidney stone and I could be normal again. I play on this instrument called the mridangam. I don't know how many of you know this. It's a Carnatic percussion instrument called mridangam. I started when I was 6 years of age, got about 4,000 concerts under my belt. The year was 2019, I was getting ready for a concert and I had this shooting pain inside my armpit as though someone was inserting a squash ball inside. And 4-5 days later, it got worse. I could not sleep, I could not sit up, I could not bring my hands down. So much so that it threatened my musical career. I ran from pillar to post, I went to about 6 to 7 doctors and finally I found somebody who actually traced what exactly the problem was. I saw God in him when he put me back on track, not only in life, but also my musical career was back on track. I saw God. And I think this topic should not be given for debate at all. I'm going to rephrase it. Is there a trust deficit in health sector? Come on, give me a break. There is. And I'm going to rephrase it. I'm going to say that how much is a trust deficit? There is definitely a trust deficit. Now, how does it manifest? What exactly do you mean by trust? Dr. Parab, normally I find myself on your chair doing what you do, but it's a welcome change today because I got a wonderful opportunity. Now, the trust, there are two parties involved in trust. It's a beautiful 5-letter word on which relationships exist. There is a truster who trusts, and there is a trustee whom the truster trusts. Am I right? And who is the trustee here? The trustee is the medical fraternity. Now when you go to a doctor, and I don't want to take names that will be highly inappropriate, but when you go to a doctor, what is the least minimum expectation? I flew from Chennai this morning when I live in Chennai. The basic expectation when I boarded the Indigo flight is a captain knows how to take off and how to land safely. Right? So when you go to a doctor, when you go to a hospital, it is given is taken for granted that the doctor knows what he is telling you. He is good at what he is supposed to be good at. But can we say the same thing about everybody in the medical profession today? The answer, I'm sorry to say, is a big no. Right? There have been times when I've been asked by doctors stupid questions. I'm sorry to say. Sometimes I wonder whether I did my MBBS or he did. Right? My mother, I love the most, and that is nothing new for people, right? If you prepare a list of people whom you really love, your mother's name comes first. But I almost didn't see my mother ever. She almost died, and this is a very true incident, not a story that I could tell. My mother died giving birth to me because of, or rather almost died because of medical negligence. And it was, I'm sorry to say, from the nursing staff. And when I was 12 years of age, we bumped into each other. My mother introduced me to that nurse and said, this is the same guy, and she had tears in her eyes. I'm not saying that was a very deliberate kind of negligence. Nonetheless, negligence it was. So we talked about incompetence, and we talked about negligence. There is one more victim of negligence in my family, that is my grandmother. She was about 74 when we got her knees operated upon. She was fine, healthy, but for her weak knees. But after that, we came to know that there was hepatitis B in her system. No way we could prove that in the court of law. Law was against us because 99.9% is negligence. There is always a 0.1% chance that she would have had it before. And we could not prove it. Was it negligence? Perhaps it was. And then, I consulted a lot of corporates, and I know a thing or two about sales and sales targets. When you recruit a sales executive or a marketing executive or sales manager for a certain salary, let's say 50,000 rupees, you set a target of about 25 lakhs, 30 lakhs a month for that person. But if you go on setting targets for doctors, how would they be? A doctor comes to an organization, a hospital, he works. And he works with the right earners. He does what he has to do. But if the hospital administration goes to him and tells him that, look, you need to do more. The machines are lying idle. You need to prescribe more medicines. Somewhere down the line, the doctor is under pressure to do that. Doesn't that amount to breach of trust? Doesn't that happen? The answer is a big yes. Now, I presume most of you are Malayali, aren't you? Yes or no would motivate us, please? Yes. The two movies that come to my mind, although I don't live in Kerala, I love Malayalam movies. And one is Mirnayam, the Mohanlal star of Mirnayam. And the other one, a movie called Joseph, which is more recent. I don't think these movies came from nowhere. I don't think these movies are great work of creative minds. These movies got more than a slip from actual incidents that have happened in Australia. And this is a worrisome factor. This is a real worrisome factor. When you go to a hospital, you're sucking in yourself. You trust the other person like you would trust God. But when you have doubts, where do you run to? It is a big question. And greed is another thing that is eating big time into the medical profession today. Someone is having a healthy salary, a very good salary, and my partner in this debate would know that the cardiac thoracic surgeons have been paid pretty well. But what if they put greed first and the rest of the things later? That's a real recipe for disaster. We are heading for disaster. And sometimes ethics is very conveniently forgotten. And I have to be personal here in terms of sharing an experience. It was the COVID time, 2020. One of my closest friends was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer, colon cancer. And they unanimously decided to take him to a doctor, an oncologist, who was a very popular choice based on the media reports. But we did a little more research in detail. We went in depth a little more, and we realized that probably the doctor was a puppet in the hands of pharmaceutical companies, and he was mindlessly making human bodies objects of his experimentation.
So you have 40 seconds.
Pardon me?
40 seconds, sir.
Right. It doesn't end here. We have pedophiles and sexual offenders among medical people. Now I only want to say one thing. They're also human beings. They are fallible to human mistakes that anyone can make. But if you don't have that extra bit of a service mentality, and if you don't control the business mentality, and if there is a fine balance being struck between service and business, it's fine. But business and revenue at any cost is a disaster. And ladies and gentlemen, there is no doubt that trust has already gone out of the window. Let's look at how we can put it back. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was very I welcome the last speaker today, my good friend Niji, to take over the mic. Niji, you have 10 minutes.
Wow, what an audience. This was like a dream come true for me when I became ANEICON member, to be in the real presence of this powerhouse. First and foremost, give yourself a big round of applause. As a fellow nurse and ANEICON member, it's a real honor and proud privilege to be here. Mr. Mr. Moderator, my esteemed worthy opponents, my partner in the industry, and the esteemed audience, today here I am to talk about the foundation of healthcare. I'm not going to define trust. When you see or speak about trust, you don't think from your head, not the scholarly things that my worthy opponent has shown, nor the kind of notes my second worthy opponent shared there, or personal anecdotes. Trust is what you believe. Your heart speaks. Each one of you here who have come to this conference, why are you here? Either you're a healthcare member, directly involved, you are a support person for a healthcare member. No matter who you are, either you or your loved one has attained healthcare experience or service. And that's what we are here to discuss about. If you do not trust, why didn't we get that service? Now, what we already here said, COVID vaccine created a lot of mistrust. You don't have to raise hand. In this room itself, I can prove if you do not trust COVID vaccine, massive global research by healthcare sector, the scientists, 99% people like Gary University here got that vaccine. What made you get that vaccine? Just because that one bad apple can spoil the name or spoil the rest of the food doesn't mean one personal experience, a social media post, or news. But you know what's news? How many of us get to hear good stories on news? You would not be here if you believe news. Last time my mother was worried. Please don't have to have flood everything. Look at this, all is full of. We believe, despite rain or shine, ANEICON will happen, correct? That's trust. That's trust. Natural birth doesn't require healthcare expertise. Animals will require their own hospitals. Babies are naturally born, yes. Maybe 5 to 10% people have complications. But why do almost every person go to a hospital to have a baby? If you do not trust healthcare, why do we go there? If you need an emergency, appendectomy to be done, appendicitis for any pain, and the pain, you want to relieve that pain, where do you go? Where do you go? I want to back into some data that I was explaining earlier. Dr. Mohan has stated. He used Harris poll. He used Johns Hopkins' very selective poll of maybe his Google healthcare mistrust surveys. I challenge you, each one who's present here, Google, the most trusted industry, sector, or professionals. See what comes up. Gallup poll, by the way, it's a global poll, and I'm a proud person to say, last 23 years, 76% of Americans say, and by the way, in the US now, say that nurses are the most trusted profession. That's what it is. The same Gallup poll for the global, when you say the most trusted global professions, guess what are the professions come? Physicians, pharmacists, paramedics, and nurses on the top 10. 40% representing the healthcare. 80+% of than 80% trust their healthcare professionals for trust. If you're talking about trust, those who are here, who have bad experiences, yes, mishaps, mere patches, many of those things we have seen in the reports. Human errors happen, as in any other sector. We are human. Technology may help us. You mentioned about business. Come on, that's a common thing. Healthcare is a business. Everything is a business. Everything is a business. Whether it's a good business or bad business, you're speaking about free. We're not talking about free services. We are talking about whether we have trust for the money I pay. If I'm paying $10 extra, $100 extra, how do you get equally extra care, quality, safety, satisfaction? That's what gives you a trust in healthcare. Any hospital you go, government hospital, if you get a good quality care, the healthcare professional is nice to you, how would go there? How would go there? Right? That's what we're talking about. My partner just shared about trust. Maybe 5-10%, not denying. More than 80% people still believe. Now the partnerships what you mentioned, we are more informed now. We are asking for more. We are capturing more values. We are capturing more errors. Previously we did not have this technology. People say, in olden times people were so healthy, they were getting 100 plus. When I was second year nursing student, the average age of an adult in India was 54 years. 54 years, I'm past that age. I should be dead. Today, what's the average age of India? I know in the US and some of the Western countries it's 80 plus, 84 plus. What made that possible? To live people longer, live well, live healthy. Healthcare sector. Healthcare sector, and why is surviving and will still survive no matter AI comes, no matter what comes. It will survive because people have trust in healthcare, people have trust in the technology, they are more informed, they are partnering. Trust deficit is not because of the news, because of the isolated data. Trust deficit because of the hyper, news, social media. When I need something serious, you build a house, anything that you have to do some research. If you want to take your loved one for their care, you are going to use a best as hospital care. Why would you need that?
You have a minute.
From birth till death, we all need health. And every day in and out, we will use healthcare services. Be it medicine, be it experts, be it the technology, be it the building, all these systems of the management of healthcare. And that's what the trust is my dear friends. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. While I give a minute for my debaters to catch their breath, let's understand that we are now going to get into a rapid fire 2 minutes of rebuttal. The expectation is they can add additional points. So we start with the for the proposal and against, and for and against, and at the end of it we will have a voice vote. So please gather your opinions, firm up your opinions, and don't go on how good looking the men are or how beautiful the women are. We are here to debate on a very important, emotionally disturbing, yet extremely time-relevant topic today: trust deficit in healthcare. So I hand over to my colleagues to my right for their 2-minute rebuttal. I am not going to be timing this. We will learn to be gentlemanly and ladylike and respect times. So 2 to 2.5 minutes time.
me? Right. Dr. Vijay very eloquently did say that if you don't trust the hospitals, when you go there, but when you have an illness, when you have a disease, please tell me where the hell do you go to the hospital? You have to go to a hospital, right? It's as simple as that. Let's not question our own competencies, please. Then, now I want to put this across to you. The issue is, it would be very, very unfair to say that everybody in the medical profession has this problem. But it's like this. We can applaud ourselves, we can say that we are the best. But it's more like India saying it's the fourth largest economy in the world. But we also have 80 crore people still depending on the 5 kilo ration which we get every month. And this is a fact. We can applaud ourselves. But please cross your heart and ask yourself or ask ourselves, don't we have a problem? And the honest response is an emphatic yes. But let me throw a different perspective altogether. I got some friends who are brilliant. They could walk into IIT without breaking a sweat. They could have joined the corporate world, maybe written under the Sundar Pichai or Satya Nadella. But they all chose a different path to serve the country by joining the armed forces and risking their lives being the border. Why? There is a sense of commitment, the sense of purpose, there is a sense of passion which goes way beyond making money and just putting the bread on the table. Now, if we can interpret the same thing, once upon a time we believed we had, now we have people who are completely committed, totally committed. But then if you can have a revamp, right, and ensure that the right people get into the profession for the right reasons, and there are two ways in which you can regulate. You can have a control-based regulatory process. It is like forcing somebody to do the homework. It is different from the child doing their homework on his own or her own. So if you can have a basic ecosystem, a landscape wherein commitment and service-mindedness is being groomed right from the beginning, we will not have this problem. We will probably have a debate asking, why do we have a surplus of trust? But for the time being, there is a deficit and we need to address it. And one final point, trust is like glass. Once broken, can never be put back. And it is heading towards a huge break where we stand no chance of putting the pieces back together. It's our collective responsibility. I hope we stand up, own up, and do the beautiful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. See that? Thank you so much. Your first question is, you fall sick, you go to the hospital. Why do you go to the hospital? I mean, you could, if I fell sick and I decided not to go to the hospital, because then I will go to some mystic healer, or I will go to some non-allopathic person, I may go anywhere. I may just go to the Himalayas and meditate. I will go where I can place my trust. If I go to the hospital, that means I trust the whole hospital system. If I go to a faith healer, that means I trust that faith healer. If I go to the Himalayas, I trust my own strength. I will meditate. Nothing can happen without trust. Why do people go to the hospital even when they're sick? It's because they have faith and they have trust in the system. The other one you spoke about joining the army, laying down your life without any expectations. Yes, I mean, that's fabulous. But that's also a job. A soldier also goes to work, right? He is the person who puts food on his family's table. So there are people who go to work. A physician also charges because he also needs to feed his family. Somebody working in the pharma industry, somebody who's making medicines and selling those medicines, he has to also put food on his family's table. I have earned a salary for the last 36 years of my life because somebody has cancer. I have not been doing some altruistic something. No, I'm not government doesn't do enough, the industry doesn't do enough, or the hospital doesn't do enough. We are constantly wanting somebody else to do something for us. We are not saying we will go out there and we will address the struggle ourselves. As a society, as a community, we have to come together and address the deficit. Without trust and faith, even that will not happen.
Back to you.
In my very second slide, I said there is no debate. I am maintaining the same stand, there is no debate. For ease of identification, I call them tall Vijay and short Vijay. Short Vijay trying to play and say nurses are very trusted and all of you can. Where did they say nurses can't be trusted? Nurses are the backbone. Whatever little trust is remaining is because of nurses. It is not a question of nurses and doctors because nurses and doctors are highly committed, highly accountable. Healthcare sector is not nurses and doctors because we have got earnings per share. Who is going to talk about it? I was in a board of directors meeting and somebody sitting next to me says, he can't even pronounce cash. He says, Doctor, where is cash? Where is cash? Where is cash? I said, what do you mean by cash? He says, I have put in so much of money, 200 crores, and I want money back. He says, I want my money back as early as possible. I asked him, what do you mean and what is your expectation? He says, I have put in 200 crores and my expectation is in 1 year it should become 400 crores. Honest to God. Then I said, if I come out of my 3-piece suit, and except for the undergarments, I will put one newspaper around me. And I will make sure all darkness will do. I can't say that for nurses. You will not be able to raise that money. You have put the wrong profession. You have put some concept. He wants to double his money in 1 year. And he is the board of directors. Therefore, we as nurses or doctors are small, insignificant in the cops and wheel story of healthcare. The moment you say it is business, there is unhealthy competition. The moment you say there is unhealthy competition, you have distrust. And Madam says, well, if I don't trust, I will go to a painkiller. I don't trust painkillers also. You want to go to Himalayas, I don't trust Himalayas also. Because you never know how weather changes. In Kochi, if it can change, Himalayas it can change every time. And I have been certified that I don't have any type of contrary nature. People are going to hospital because there is no other way. How many of you, if you have trust, in the first time which I put in government hospitals, or I said it's not government hospitals and government schools, are ready to rush one 12-year-old daughter who has got a right lower abdominal pain to government hospital. My own car driver doesn't want to do that. Because he says, I just can't depend on that. You go there, 9 o'clock biometrics, doctor is out. He is doing private practice. Is it not true? Where is accountability? In private, you come. You go inside the clinic, they say you do whole body PET scan. Because I don't want to miss anything. Who is going to pay? There are people even today who are unable to come under any of your government schemes, under any of your insurances. They are having to sell their properties to have their DM and DM treated 2025 too. And therefore, the fact is, healthcare has lost its trust. My friend said, we have to prevent shattering of glass because we can't put them together. How much of Fevicol you have, or Fevikwik you have, it is already shattered. It is impossible to put it together. We struggle because people come because there is no other way out. Thank you.
I'm sorry, he's trying to stand up. I need to see you. How many of you love pizza? members are that kind of healthcare leaders who are just here to make money. Hospitals will not survive if it is just for making money alone. Patients trust doctors and nurses. You take out the doctors and nurses and pharmacists and clinicians out of the health sector, which is not building alone, which is not administration alone, which is not system alone. What is the percentage of the healthcare system or sector that is left? Why do people go to hospital? To get skilled medical and nursing care. So, doctors, nurses, clinicians, pharmacists, everyone who is working there is a big chunk of that. The building, the administration, the money is not giving you the care you want. It is the expertise you want. I just want to do one simple experiment before I drop my mic. Please close your eyes, because I want an audience to participate. Please close your eyes. Because you see, one another have a tendency to do what others say. So I'm the person who don't want to participate. Raise your hand if you do not trust healthcare sector. Okay. Raise your hand if you trust healthcare sector. Open your eyes. Open your eyes. Majority of you have raised your hand. My point is proven. This is just personal opinion. This is your personal opinion. Trust is not gone from healthcare sector.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. A big round of applause for all these talented people who brought their expertise, their experience to the table, and have managed to put up a debate worthy of ANEICON. One big round of applause again for all of them. I do have a few closing points which I will end with. But before that, the much awaited, people wait and try to see which side presented a stronger argument. This is about both your own belief in whether there is a trust deficit and whether the debaters have managed to put up a strong case. So, how many of you believe that the gentlemen who are to my right and to your left have actually presented a strong case? Is there a trust deficit today in healthcare? How many of you believe, yes, there is a trust deficit? Okay. How many of you believe that these people have presented a better case and that there is no trust deficit in healthcare? Okay, one minute. Is there one? Yes, sir. You want to say something? Yes, you can, but have I not asked the right question? My mentor and patron of Tanka, you wanted to say something, ma'am? No, right now we are talking about straightforward, yes. Leave that to the moderator. I'm trying to leave in some points.
Actually, this debate should happen for public. We all are as healthcare workers. We still must.
You're also public, ma'am. You're also public.
I'm telling you, but as they said, we lost the trust with the system.
Okay, one minute. That's a pain in my Okay, let's just once again, let me ask again. How many of you vote for Dr. Kapoor and for Sridhar? How many of you vote for this side? And how many of you vote for this side? Show of hands. Okay, I don't think we have come to a conclusion. I don't think we have come to a vote. So I will ask, ladies and gentlemen, very briefly. I think that trust is something, it's not a soft skill in healthcare. Soft skills are those things that go and come in songs. I think trust is the fundamental foundation on which healthcare is based. In healthcare, trust is not a noun. In healthcare, trust is a verb that we use every minute. What we do every minute, ladies and gentlemen, as nurses, as doctors, as pharmacists, as therapists, it is all based on trust. Let's accept one thing, that there are cracks. There are cracks in the relationship. There are cracks that need to be mended. Maybe the question that was posed by the organizers of ANEICON, maybe the question should not have been, is there a trust deficit? But Is there a trust deficit enough that healthcare is not trusted at all? Yes, there are pockets where there are trust deficits, but yes, there are also the silos of excellence where we are doing work, pioneering work, where the world is looking to India. Indigenous valves, indigenous devices, and so on and so forth. I think the question that we need to ask ourselves as healthcare workers, and since the majority in the room today is nurses, the question that we all need to ask ourselves, especially nurses, are we brave enough to win this trust back one day, one patient, one choice at a time? I think that is the question which I will leave you with as we part this debate. Because we don't close this debate. We need to carry this debate further ahead to our practices as we leave ANEICON and leave God's own country. We need to carry this debate with us. We need to carry it and ensure that our policies, our practices, whether it's billing, whether it's insurance, whether it's communication with our patients, that we actually carry the trust factor further and further, reduce the trust deficit, and with or without Fenicol, try to mend this glass once again, so that Indian healthcare truly gets the spot that it deserves, one of a non-besmirched, spotless reputation healthcare system that every Indian trusts, and with pride comes to us and says, doctor, staff nurse, sister, whatever we call ourselves, I trust you and I am willing to do what you tell me to do. With that, ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for all our debaters. Once again, a big round of thanks from all of us for to Andy and ANEICON, to Ajita and the Executive Committee of ANEICON for organizing this. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.